Hey folks, today I want to talk about Lethal Zone and more specifically my Reckless Berserker type of playstyle. I get a lot of comments about how wild it is, and lately it's been really working well for me, so I thought I'd make a guide on how I play Lethal Zone. Let's just dive into it. To have this Berserker-esque type of playstyle that I do, here are 6 things you're going to need in your base that are essential for this to work. I'm going to do this in a list format because that makes it easy for me, but it's in no specific order. 1, you need a level 2 workshop or an auto shop for crafting toolkits and for scrapping weapons and items that you aren't going to be using. The toolkits are super important because this playstyle requires a heavy use of your vehicle and you're going to be taking on a ton of damage, and scrapping the excess weapons and items are for the parts that you're going to need to craft the toolkits. Number 2, you need a level 2 infirmary or a level 1 infirmary with the facility mod cast making. This allows your community members to passively heal while they're idle in your base, which is important for keeping your members ready for action when you need to switch to them. Number 3, you will need as many bullet making facility mods as you can find, or an armory. The armory would be preferable. This type of playstyle burns through tons and tons of ammo, and the only way to keep up with the amount of ammo we need is by crafting it as well as looting and buying it. Number 4, a high-level garden, farm, or hydroponics base facility. We're going to need 1 or 2 of these because this playstyle requires having fewer food outposts than you would normally have, and we're going to need to make up for that elsewhere. Number 5, a kitchen type of facility that lets you enact rationing to slow down the food consumption at your base. This one goes hand in hand with the garden, allowing your food income to last longer. Here are some tips on vehicles. In my opinion, the best vehicles in the game are the ones with spikes on them, which are the Impaler, the Zbuster, and Mad Norma, which is a unique variation of the Zbuster and also my personal favorite. If you don't have a vehicle with spikes, zombies can grab and latch onto the front of your car and deal massive amounts of damage to the engine. When you park so that the front of your car is directly against a wall to avoid them grabbing on. But if you have one of the vehicles with spikes, this isn't necessary as they are unable to do that. The spikes on the vehicle will come into play later as well when I talk about special infected, but essentially zombies will ultimately end up unaliving themselves when they come to attack the vehicle because of the spikes. And before we get into the next one, don't forget to click the subscribe button below and hit the bell icon. We put State of Decay 2 content out all the time and you don't want to miss out on any uploads. Here are some tips for your community. I start every game with 1 doctor, 1 gardener, and 1 mechanic. However, I don't seek out any specific traits. Instead, I only care about making sure they don't have any negative traits, and they need to have at least some positive traits, regardless of what they are. Nobody can join the community that has any negative effect towards morale. Morale is super important in Lethal Zone, and just by being in Lethal Zone, you start with a negative 30 morale debuff that doesn't go away. There are some really good character traits out there, and it might be worth your time filtering through until you find the perfect ones. Here are some tips on morale. As I said a moment ago, morale is critical in Lethal Zone, so it's important to build on it where you can. Destroying infestations and being proactive in the world will increase morale in small increments. You can have quick temporary morale boosts through abilities at certain base facilities, like having a feast at a kitchen. There's lots of ways to raise your morale. Just keep an eye on it, don't let it get too low. However, don't waste a base slot on beds if you can help it. The benefit from having beds is negligible compared to what could be in that slot instead. And whenever a character is threatening to leave the community because of low morale, I switch to that character and I take them out to clear infestations, and that seems to work pretty well. I haven't had anybody leave in a really long time by doing this. Here are some tips on outposts. I personally sacrifice having multiple medical or food outposts for the benefit of having extra ammo outposts instead. This lets us generate the community resource of ammo on a regular basis, which is crucial for crafting the massive amounts of ammo that we need. That's why I mentioned earlier about having a food generating facility at your base. Build a garden or a farm and upgrade it, and activate any abilities that boost food production as often as it lets you. This will allow you to have more ammo outposts. In theory, my outpost priorities are 1 food outpost first, then 1 medical outpost, then as many ammo outposts as I can find. And this can fluctuate based on your personal preference and needs, but in general, you're going to need a lot of ammo outposts. You're also going to need a way to provide power and water to your base, which is going to be essential for a lot of these other base facilities that you're going to need. I have the luxury of using the boon that gives me base-wide water and power, but if you're listening to this tutorial, you probably don't have that luxury. So find some utility stations. They're going to give you the base-wide water and power that you need. And here are some tips on combat tactics. In almost every combat situation, I start by switching my vehicle to reverse and then backing into as many zombies as I can, much like a battering ram on wheels. Doing it in reverse will help to prevent too much damage to the engine. After I've thinned the herd enough, I'll get out of the vehicle and shoot whoever is still alive. Sometimes I'll skip the battering ram part and go straight to shooting. I'll save melee combat for last when there's only 1 or 2 zombies left. I like to use single shot on my guns to preserve ammo and to have better accuracy, and my guns are always equipped with a suppressor once I've found or crafted one. Advanced suppressors are ideal, but professional suppressors are great as well, and it's very important not to bring any of your members along as followers. This might seem like a good idea, but they will almost always get yourself or themselves unalived almost immediately. If you absolutely need a second gunman with you, try to hire a follower from another enclave. This will get you the extra shooter that you need, but you aren't risking your own people. Some good ways to get suppressors are you can craft suppressors once you have a level 2 workshop, but these suppressors aren't very good. You can almost always find a suppressor by taking out a level 3 infestation, and one of the special infected there drops suppressors all of the time. So this is a really good way to find a really good suppressor. And here are some tips on combat with special infected specifically. Bloaters are easy. Just shoot from a distance and avoid the gas. If you headshot them, they won't explode right away. However, their bodies will become basically landmines. Ferals are super aggressive on lethal and oftentimes travel in packs of 3. Whenever I sense or see a feral, I will run to my vehicle and get on the roof. More often than not, the feral will kill itself on the spikes of your vehicle. This is another time when spikes are going to be really helpful. If you can't do this for whatever reason, then try to find something else you can climb on and shoot for the head to break their armor. You could try to melee them, which isn't impossible, it's just dangerous as hell. And with juggernauts, I'll just back into them with the vehicle until they're dead. If you can't do that, then run like hell and shoot when you can. Fire and explosives will help bring his health pool down, and they can't enter doorways on houses, so use that to your advantage. And screamers are really interesting because they'll scream and alert other screamers, and now they also actually spit at you, which deals damage, so just take them out as quick as you can. That's usually my first go-to when I see them in a pack of zombies. And here are a few general tips that work with any playstyle. Just make good decisions. Try not to let plague hearts stick around for too long. Any negative curveballs that have lasting effects should be dealt with right away, like the black plague heart and the hostile enemy that moves in and limits your resource collection. And that should cover the community and base, as well as managing resources and combat. I think this is a good start to a shoot first, ask questions later playstyle. I may have forgotten some things. If you know about anything I did leave out that you know that I do, feel free to leave a comment below. I hope you put this guide to use and turn Trumbull Valley into a war zone. Thanks for watching, and until next time, farewell.